On this episode, no throwing battle today. Matt Dolloff in studio, so we've got a little Sports Hub Patriots podcast crossover going on.
What's up, Barth? We do the podcast, but this is our first radio program, I think, since Labor Day, before the season started.
Yeah, first one in a minute. We got Kyle Fabrizio behind the glass as well, as we get to kick this thing off with some good news, some fun news. Drake May, who entered the NFL's concussion protocol last week, was limited all week in practice. He was cleared yesterday from the concussion protocol. So the expectation is, according to reports, he will start. That's good news for the Patriots, and I think he should be ready to start. So I kind of talked about this week, but I want to open with this. So the way the NFL concussion protocol works, phase 1 and 2, you can't be on the field. Like you can't do that. He clearly cleared that by Wednesday. Phase 3, and you can't do multiple phases in a day. It's like one at a time. Phase 3, you're on the field for up to 30 minutes. Limited. Phase 4, you can be out for a full practice, but non-contact. Phase 5, full practice, whatever. They just want to make sure like nothing pops back up. So a lot of the reasons sometimes guys don't play after a concussion is they get cleared, but they're not ready. They're not prepared because they didn't have a full practice. The unique thing for quarterbacks is they're always non-contact at practice. Phase 4 and Phase 5 are essentially the same thing for them. You can go through a full practice in Phase 4. I don't know whether or not Drake May did that. He was listed as limited. He was listed as limited on Friday as well. That might just be because he's in the protocol. But 2 full practices should be enough for him to go. I actually feel good about him going today. I think he should be ready.
Yeah, I mean, were people arguing that he shouldn't play? I mean, like, I don't know if I'm arguing with a straw man.
People were arguing, but it's more just to kind of set up. This is very rare for
to not miss any time.
A player to go through a concussion, not miss time. So for him to do that, like, this is why that is.
I wonder how bad of a concussion it even was for him, because I mean, he stayed in that game.
Yeah.
Against the Jets last week.
As Gerard Mayo kept saying, he threw a couple dimes after.
He threw a couple of passes after. Like, nobody even like really thought he might have had a head injury. And then all of a sudden he left, and like the fans in the stadium didn't even know what was going on. It's like, why is Jacoby Brissett in? What's going on?
I was getting texts from friends who were at the game.
Yeah.
Like, what happened?
I thought, like, when we saw the helmet-to-helmet hit, my first thought is, like, hopefully he didn't get concussed. And
right.
The fact that he stayed in the game told me that he's fine. So, well, the concussion spotters obviously saw something after the fact and pulled him out, but I wonder if it was just, sort of mild symptoms, and he just sort of breezed through the process. So I'm not surprised that he got cleared, and obviously he should play. I mean, it's all based on the protocol, Barth. If you're cleared, you play. That's just the nature of the position, the starting quarterback.
So where are you at with him against this Titans defense? And there's a weird quirk when it comes to the Tennessee Titans defensively. They actually lead the league in fewest yards allowed. They've allowed 1,800 yards this year through 7 games. So fewest yards allowed. How are they doing that? They have had a ton of short fields. Nobody has turned the ball over more than the Tennessee Titans this year. 16 turnovers. So little bit of an asterisk next to that. For comparison, they're 29th in points. So a little bit of an imbalance.
Yeah, how is this defense so good? Yeah, the offense sucks. That's how the defense is so good.
It's kind of what the Patriots defense was last year at times.
Right, yeah.
But they, schematically, and they talked about it this week, like they throw a lot at you. The last few defenses that Drake May's faced, and like, look, the Jets have a good defense, but because they have such good players, they kind of do what they do. They don't dress it up a ton. They're going to line up. They're going to run that Seattle 3. They're going to, on and on. Houston, same thing. D'Amico Ryans, it's that same base where they're going to do what they do. They're going to line up and play you punch for punch. I'm missing the third team he played, the Jaguars, same thing. They kind of line up, they do what they do. The Titans, they run a ton of different looks, ton of different disguises. Now, they don't have the talent. They don't have the talent to begin with. And they have a number of guys on the injury report. They'll be without their top 2 corners in this game. Starting safety Amani Hooker is limited. We'll see defensive tackle Devondre Sweat, who's a really, really, really good player. He's questionable. So they may not get the full Titans defense, but schematically, this thing's going to look kind of nuts.
Yeah, but I mean, they have Jeffrey Simmons still. Quandre Diggs, good player. Roger McCreary is a solid cornerback. So I think they cover pretty well. But like to your point, like they're high up in these fewest yards allowed per play per game, whatever, because of the short fields. And they have the fastest opponent time to throw. That's also because their opponent's spending a lot of time in the red zone. You're going to make some quicker decisions down there. They're really middle of the pack when it comes to getting pressure on the quarterback. They're 19th in pressure rate. So I feel like this defense is a little overrated if you just look at the raw numbers because of the things that we've been talking about here. And I was thinking the same thing against the Jets last week where, Drake May probably has to make a few plays with his legs. Might still be the case today. But, the Titans are banged up. And I don't know if you wanted to talk about this at any point during the show. There's the Lions hangover. Yeah. Lions opponents are winless in their following game this season. And
they didn't just get beat by the Lions. They got beat.
They got absolutely destroyed by the Lions.
I think the Lions 14.
The Lions, yes, 52-14. The Lions are very physical up front on both sides of the ball. So I think they just have a way of wearing you down, and you sort of it carries over to the next week. I don't see the Titans being the team to break that trend. So that's why I like the Patriots today. I'm not sure the Patriots are going to go in there and blow doors against the Titans, but I do like the Patriots today because I think the Titans have a hangover. They're banged up, and they're just a little overrated on defense. And so I think the Patriots are going to be able to move the ball a little bit, and so I like their chances because of all those things.
Well, it's another good opportunity to see, we're still, 2 weeks removed from the soft comments, and I think the Patriots had a response to that last week. I wouldn't say it was... They were tougher. I wouldn't say last week was the toughest game I've ever seen a football team play.
It was technically a response. It wasn't the big epic response. They didn't come out and they didn't come out and emphatically respond, but they responded a little bit.
But you mentioned the Titans maybe being banged up, and this is a team that's good in the trenches. I will say this about the Titans. They have the tools to be a tough football team. You mentioned Jeffrey Simmons, I think one of the more underrated players in the league. Was a little slow to start the year after a season-ending injury last season, but he's gotten back on track. He's been really good the last 3 games. T'Vondre Sweat, who I've already mentioned, I'm a huge fan of. If you remember the draft coverage, he's the big 360-pound defensive tackle from Texas who moves a little bit like Vince Wilfork. Harold Landry on the edge, old BC player. He can get after the quarterback a little bit. So they can make plays up front defensively, especially in the interior. That group, I know you've been big on Ben Brown, Mike Onwenu, Michael Jordan. This group's going to get tested in this. But they're going to have a chance. The Patriots are going to have a chance to kind of prove that because, to your point, if you can kind of break through the Titans at the line of scrimmage, especially, this is true on both sides, by the way, especially with the injuries that they have, there are absolutely going to be plays to be made in this game.
Yeah, no, look, if they can get through to that second level, like you said, I think the Titans, they can tackle pretty well. Right, so I'm not sure they're going to be able to make a lot of plays after the catch. But I think Drake May could have time to throw, and if he doesn't have time to throw, he's shown good escapability from the pocket. And, you want him to go down a little faster than he did last week. We'll see. I guess this could be a good test to see if he's learned that aspect of it. So it's good that Drake May is going to be out there. If Jacoby Brissett was out there, we'd be a little less excited. I'd feel a little less. I wouldn't feel as good about the Patriots' chances to move the ball offensively, but I think with a dynamic quarterback in there against a banged-up defense, I think there's going to be plays to be made in both phases, on the ground and through the air.
The other that you to bring it back to Drake May, you mentioned him having time. He looked good last week, but most of those plays were out of structure. All right, so what are we kind of do this every week now? What are you looking for Drake May? Can he stand in the pocket and deliver the football? Right, we know he can run around and do all that, but coming off the concussion, that's always going to be a part of his game. I'm not saying that shouldn't be a part of his game. And I actually thought Alex Van Pelt did a good job this week of explaining this and asked why they aren't doing design quarterback runs. And look, I'd mix in a couple. I don't think none is the right answer. But he basically said he's going to run around a little bit. When he does that, he's going to get hit. We don't need him getting hit more than he needs to get hit. And this is what Drake May gets compared to Josh Allen all the time. This is what, in terms of his, as a prospect, as a ceiling, this is what the Bills have never been able to figure out with Josh Allen. And part of the reason they can't win with him is and some of this is roster construction too, because they have zero interest in investing in the run game for whatever reason. But if you don't run him enough, your offense suffers because that's an elite trait that you should be taking advantage of. If you run him too much, well, now you get to mid-November, you get to Thanksgiving, you get to December, and he's dealing with a shoulder, he's dealing with a knee, he's dealing with a hip, and he's not the same player physically. So Where is the equilibrium? Is there an equilibrium? I don't know that equilibrium even exists. And I've said that for years about the Bills, that they keep firing offensive coordinators because they're trying to find this balance, and I don't know that the balance is there. And I'm going to carry that over to the Patriots. What I will say is the Bills generally err on the side of run him more than not. Every year, at the beginning of the year, they say we're not going to run him, and then they lose 2 or 3 games in November, and then he's running like crazy in December, and it catches up to him in the playoffs. I err more on the side of let him throw. Like use him as a passer. If he's going to scramble and run, great. I don't need 5-6 design quarterback runs per game. So part of that, though, is you have to be able to make plays in structure. And that was one of the big questions about Drake May coming out was, is he going to be too reliant on the playground football? I'm not saying he's been bad in structure, but I think he's maybe been a little too quick. And part of it is his receivers can't catch the ball. His linemen can't block. Surely there's going to be a little bit of an instinct of, fine, I'll do it myself. And we'll get to the receivers here in a little bit because they need to catch the football this week. But that's what I'm looking for Drake May today. 3-step drop, hit that back foot, get the ball out. If the receivers drop it, sucks, right? That sucks, but like I want to see him try to make some more plays in structure.
Yeah, well, the pass protection has been better.
It's been better
lately. Not that it's been great, but it's been good enough. Like you give him two and a half seconds to throw, like that should be enough for a lot of quarterbacks, especially Drake May, who's as athletic as he is, and he's shown capability of making quick decisions. Yeah, my issue with him, Barth, has been the way that he's sort of handled pressure in the pocket and the way he's sort of escaped too early. He's danced around a little bit into pressure. I think we saw some of that in Jacksonville. So yeah, he needs to get better at the way he handles it when the play's breaking down. I'm not saying he can't handle pressure. I'm saying, how does he react when the pressure's there? Does he stay in the pocket? Does he take a hit when it's necessary? I don't think he's afraid to take a hit, but I think he does have that instinct of I'm going to take off and I'm going to pick up 12 yards on the ground. I think he should only run like when they really give it to him. I think the Jets were giving it to him early in that game, which is why he's like, all right, I'll take this.
I mean, you look at that touchdown. There's nobody between him and the end zone. If you can see the goal line, like you go. I get that.
Right. No, I get that part of it. But yeah, like he's got to know when to go down. He's got to just pick up the first down, slide, live to see another down, pick up the fresh set of downs and go from there. He can't be, picking up the first down and then running for another 10 and then taking a helmet hit and getting a concussion. You can't have that. So, yeah, they got to find the balance. And I think the balance is just taking the yards when they're there and knowing when you've gone past the sticks, you got the first down. Go down, slide, give yourself up, get back up, go back, 1st and 10, let's go.
So that being said, again, it will help him if he knows he can trust his receivers to make plays. That will go a long way in helping him make plays in the pocket. Can he trust his receivers to make plays? Which receivers will be out there this week trying to make plays for Drake May? We'll get to that next. Plus, your calls. You want to call in, talk football with us, 617-779-0985. Off and running here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff coming up on the Sports Hub.
think is the biggest thing. Drops come in bunches, catches come in bunches. So, my message to them was to keep working. You're lifelong receivers. You catch the ball for a living, so it's nothing new to you guys. So just, focus on the next rep, focus on how I get better during the week of practice. Ultimately, we're going to, throw the ball to those guys. They're going to make plays for us moving forward. They're disappointed as anybody, in the way they handled the ball Sunday, but expect better out of them.
Over the month of October, Matt, first of all, quick little lesson here. When you want to talk about how reliable a group of receivers are catching the football, and I promise this isn't going to turn into some weird analytics thing. It's going to start like that, but if you know me, you know that that's not what I believe in. You don't use drops as a metric, because pure drops, if you look at the list of leaders in drops and you look at the list of leaders in targets, they're usually nearly identical. Because Julian Edelman used to lead the league or be near the league lead in drops every year. Tyreek Hill, same thing. But these guys get the ball a ton, so there's going to be more drops. What you want to use is drop percentage, which is essentially what percent of your targets are drops. That will tell you who's really having trouble catching the football, because it removes volume from it. So, over the last 4 games, Miami actually led the NFL last month in drop percentage at 9.9%. That's stupid high. That's ridiculous. The Patriots are next at 8.7. That's not good. There are only 4 teams in the NFL with a drop percentage over 8 in the month of October. Patriots are at 8.7. They are not catching the football. They were better for the first month, so I don't know if it's something about Drake May or the quarterback change or just guys checking out with the team losing games. Whatever the reason, it can't happen, and they need to be better. The wide receiver conversation starts right there. I guess if you have a quick thought on the drops before we get into the personnel.
Yeah, no, drops to me are sort of like a case-by-case basis type of thing. I don't look at the season leaders and drops. If you have a bad game here and there, where the drops are a problem today, the drops have been a problem for the last 2-3 games or so. You look at a small sample size when it comes to drops. I don't look at that as a big picture, problem most of the time. That being said, the drops have been somewhat of an issue the last few weeks, I would say. That's the interesting thing to me, Barth, is that Drake May has gone in, and yet the receivers have played worse, and they seem more unhappy than they were before Drake May went in. I thought this is what they wanted.
Have the receivers played worse, or are they more in the spotlight? Because how many times were guys running open with Jacoby Brissett, and whether it was Brissett or the line, they didn't get the football thrown to them.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. And it was just this guy's open. And now,
to your point about the drops, they're getting more targets. The opportunities are there.
They're still, a lot of them are still open. And there's been some Drake May hasn't helped. And Drake May is less accurate than Jacoby Brissett, especially in the short range. So that's there. But you still got to help out. You still got to catch the football. So that begs the question of who's going to be on the field. The top 3, to me, should remain unchanged. Demario Douglas, Kendrick Bourne, even with his drops, he's still a good veteran receiver. I trust him to work through it. Demario Douglas, Kendrick Bourne, Kayshon Boutte, those are your top 3. And Boutte's had some problems with drops too, but I think those guys have shown you they deserve to be out there the majority of the time.
Yeah, I don't think that should change. I think that's basically been their best 3 the last 2-3 games in a row. Kayshon Boutte, I think, has been a pleasant surprise, and obviously he had a couple drops too, but
he had that bounce back.
He really redeemed himself at the end of that game. You can make up for a few bad plays with one really big play at the end of the game that helps you win. So I'm not as mad at Kayshon Boutte. I'm very mad at Jalen Polk. I'm mad at KJ Osborne. I'm mad at Tyquan Thornton. I'm mad at all these guys for dropping the ball and not really doing enough to help the team win. Kayshon Boutte is sort of gets a pass for last week, but yeah, honestly, Barth, big picture, I think this goes back to Gerard Mayo. I think that's the receiver room, pretty much every wide receiver room in the NFL is filled with egos. Yeah. You have egos to manage there. And I think Gerard Mayo has been sort of hands off with pretty much everything. And so when you let these guys sort of, run free when it comes to not just how they play, but how they talk and how they behave off the field, I think this is sort of what you get. You get guys acting out and talking a big game, but then they can't go back it up. They're not being coached well on or off the field.
Well, so that's why to me, you have those top 3 guys. You got to start playing the kids, because if nobody's earned the playing time, and Jim Murray has used this line that the ratio of ego to talent in that room is way off. Because
way out of whack.
I have no problem with a wide receiver with an ego. All the best ones do. I think you have to really believe in yourself to play that position at a high level in the NFL.
It's the reality of the position, yeah.
But you have to play at that level.
You have to
Otherwise,
back it up at
it's
some
no
point.
good, right? So, if they get a guy like a DK Metcalf in here, he can talk about demanding the ball all he wants. I don't really care. Kayshon Bouttie's a little different. That being said, I'd still put him on the field because he's one of their better receivers. I think, to me, the question is about that fourth and then fifth guy. They've mainly been using a four-man rotation at receiver, but five are going to be active. I've seen enough of KJ Osborne. I've seen enough of Tyquan Thornton. They shouldn't be on this team by Tuesday at 4 o'clock. Neither one of them should be. And you got to play the kids. I know Jalen Polk's had this drop issue. Let him work through it. It's the only way he's going to get better. You got to let him work through it. Javon Baker did not have a good camp. He had his hiccup with the schedule in London. I get that. You got to let him play. You got to let him play and see what you have in him. You used a fourth-round pick on him. You can't bench him forever. You're a 2-6 football team. These guys got to play. You got to see what you got in them. They might suck. But you got to find out. You know what you have in Tyquan Thornton. You know what you have in KJ Osborne. It sounds like at least one of those guys will be gone. Mike Reese wrote this morning on ESPN.com that they might release Osborne if they can't find a trade partner for him, which kind of tells me they do want to have more of this youth movement in that room. Thornton's a little different because they don't have any speed without him, and what good is his speed if he can't get on the field? Yes, I understand that.
What good is his speed if he can't catch the ball?
That too, but teams just like having that option. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's time to play the kids at receiver.
Yeah, no, with Polk especially, like, his hands aren't really the issue. Like, it's mental with him, and that's why Mayo described it.
Usually most drop problems are mental.
Right, yeah. Like, if it's a physical, if drops are a physical problem, you're not going to be a second-round pick in the first place. But Jalen Polk specifically is a guy that he's never going to get a high level of separation. So he's going to have to make contested catches. He's going to have to catch the ball. And in camp over the summer, like, he was catching everything. Like, this is a guy that was catching everything thrown his way. And so makes it especially surprising that he can't hold on to the ball now that we're into the regular season. Another part of that is we saw this in Jacksonville. He's got to be able to hold on to the ball and absorb contact as he's making the catch. There were a couple of plays where the ball's in his hands, but he gets hit at the catch point and he can't hold on. And so he's going to have to get used to that at this level because that's sort of just that's how he plays. That's going to be his playing style. He's going to be a possession receiver that has to make, contested catches in tight windows and things like that. So I'm not as worried about Jalen Polk in the long term. I'm not ready to give up on him just yet. It's been a rough first half of his rookie year. But the problems he has right now, we already know aren't problems with him, or they weren't problems with him before. So I consider those things to be correctable. And look, he's never going to be the fastest receiver in the world. He's probably never going to be, he's not going to be a number one receiver. He might not even be a number two. He might be just a pure possession guy, a better Jacoby Myers, as you've described him before. And so we could debate about whether he was overdrafted or not, but I think he's going to be a solid receiver. And so you got to give him opportunities at some point. You need someone to go out there and make plays, and I don't think he deserves to be buried. I think he deserves another chance to make plays, and if he can't, then fine, back to the bench. But I think he deserves another opportunity.
I'm with you on that. Another guy might be getting a big opportunity. That's on the offensive line. We'll get to that next, plus your calls, 617-779-0985, as we move on here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
Stay tuned for more Sunday Kickoff on the Sports Hub.
How do you know who to choose when you're looking to...
could be a left tackle for you guys long term?
Absolutely. One word to describe him, I've used this word in the past, is steady. You don't want to hear his name called. That's a good thing.
That was Gerard Mayo on Friday. Kind of a late question in the presser there. Vidarian Lowe, could he be a long-term answer at left tackle for the Patriots? Gerard Mayo says absolutely. Now,
You heard his voice go up a little bit. Absolutely. So I don't know. I'm not sure how much he really meant it.
I think he got a little excited about it. I think that I think they like Vidarian Lowe, and that doesn't mean that he's absolutely going to be the answer. Look, first of all, there's a lot of football left to play between now and when they ultimately have to make that decision. Lowe is still under contract, so they don't have to make a decision on him. He's under contract. Next year will be the last year of his deal. It's like $1.1 million. He's still on a rookie contract. Two, it's not necessarily Gerard Mayo that's going to decide that. That's an Elliot Wolf decision. Elliot Wolf builds the roster. He has final say over the roster. He's going to decide whether or not Vidarian Lowe's a long-term left tackle. Now, Vidarian Lowe's been solid. He's been fine. He's been fine. He's played in 5 games, started 4 of them. He's allowed 11 pressures on 143 pass blocking snaps. He's not allowed a sack yet. He's only allowed 2 quarterback hits. Again, that's solid. Now, availability is part of it, and he's already gotten hurt twice. So you might factor that in.
And he wasn't out there against some of the tougher pass rushing opponents, right?
He missed.
He's had easier matchups lately.
He missed. Week 3 was the Jets.
He missed
the Niners, which is a good pass rush team, and he missed Jacksonville. So, yeah. I mean, he was out there against Houston. They have a good pass rush. He got the Jets once, although he allowed 3 pressures last week. I hope they're not set right now on making Vidarian Lowe the left tackle of the future. Again, there's still so much football left to play. I'm not saying I'm entirely opposed to it, but if you're going to do it because you think he has a lot of room to grow and you believe in Scott Peters and you think he can get to that level, that's one thing. If it's, well, we see Travis Hunter sitting there in the draft, so we need Vidarian Lowe to be our left tackle of the future because we're not going to have one otherwise, then I don't like it nearly as much.
Why are we zeroing in on Travis Hunter? We keep hearing Travis Hunter over and over and over. I get it. He's one of the top draft prospects, but like, we don't even know where the Patriots are going to be picking.
I can say that about. I'll say it about Ted McMillan. I'll say it about Abdul Carter. Honestly, after that game yesterday he had for Penn State, he was awesome. But I remember getting that question a lot in the offseason. Like, if Vidarian Lowe works out, or if Chuks Okorafor works out at the time, right? Because it looked like he was going to be the left tackle. Like, then what does that mean? And it's like, yeah, I guess in theory, if one of them is good, they don't need a left tackle. But I haven't seen, like, Vidarian Lowe's been solid. And I think when you look at last year, and obviously he really struggled at times last year, and that's why Patriots are so out on him, he was better on the left side. They started him at right tackle. He's not a right tackle, period, full stop. He can't play on the right side. Left tackle, he's been better. I still haven't seen enough to put it like, all right, he's entering a contract year. Let's get him extended for 4 years, and this is the guy who's going to protect Drake May's blind side. I haven't seen enough for that. It's been an encouraging season, but I'm not there yet.
I think we've seen enough for Vidarian Lowe that he can stay on this team next year. He can be an option at tackle.
I think if he's your backup left tackle, you're in pretty good shape.
That's what I'm saying. I think he's earned enough. I think he's shown enough flashes and been sort of steady enough lately that you can keep him long term. You don't need to blow him out of here. I'm sure there are plenty of people like for earlier in the season, or especially last year, that said, "Why is Vidarian Lowe on this team? Get him the hell out of here." But I feel like for long term option at left tackle, you gotta aim higher than Vidarian Lowe, who they brought in here for a 6th round pick last year, and he's grown into a sort of serviceable left tackle role. But can we get a good left tackle? And it's been DeMontre Jacobs at right tackle the last couple weeks. They're going to need a right tackle too. So I mean, if it comes to they want to draft the receiver with the top 10 pick, and they want to stick with Vidarian Lowe at left tackle, they still have to figure out right tackle. So I'm not sold on either of those tackle spots yet. I don't think anyone really should be. I just think when it comes to Gerard Mayo, Elliot Wolf has expressed confidence in Vidarian Lowe too. I just feel like they sort of have to express confidence in Vidarian Lowe because Vidarian Lowe is who they have right now.
Yeah.
And maybe he's a guy that sort of needs that little extra kick in the butt to grow his confidence and, get him feeling good about himself, get him out there playing more consistently and staying on the field. Like he's had trouble with injuries, obviously. Like I admire what Fedarian Lowe has brought to the team lately. I just don't see him as the long-term answer at left tackle the way he's played.
Yeah, especially for a team that's kicked the can down the road at that position for so many years. Like, is what Fedarian Lowe's doing sustainable? That's what I don't know. He's been solid. I don't know that it's sustainable, and if you move on and then next year he drops off, well, now, okay, you got to do the tackle thing again, a whole other year. And for a team that's neglected the position for so long, and part of the reason Elliott Wolf was in charge is because that position was neglected.
And I think Elliott Wolf has hopefully learned his lesson from this offseason that, if he goes out and signs another tackle in free agency, like a sort of stopgap veteran, get someone with actual left tackle experience.
Yeah, and get somebody who wants to play football.
Someone who actually wants to, who's going to stay here, not just leave. And someone who actually plays left tackle, not someone who's played right tackle and say, yeah, we'll move over to the left side. We feel good about that. Total miscalculation on Elliott Wolf's part. So hopefully they at least sign, they make a Chuks Okorafor type signing, but it's a guy who's actually played left tackle. That's what I'm hoping for.
I will tell you, though, I do think they have one find on the offensive line. Ben Brown. Ben Brown's been solid.
Absolutely.
For what he is and when they got him, and all, he's been unbelievable, I think.
Yeah, and he a little bit of a rougher game last week, but he was up against Quinnen Williams. So
it was against Quinnen Williams, and this guy just got here. That's what I'm saying.
Well, so I talked to him this week. He is fine. He said moved in. He's got an apartment. His truck's up here, so he is settled in a little bit.
Oh, good.
And
he found himself a nice studio.
He said that's helped, so he can now just focus on the football element of it. But we'll see. Mike Reese wrote this morning, Cole Strange's return is getting closer. I've kind of said probably around Thanksgiving, so within the month. And there's obviously some talk of him moving to center, but if Ben Brown's giving you this, David Andrews is going to be back next year. He's you're not moving on from David Andrews, but he's year to year at this point. Who is the next guy? You now maybe have a couple options. You have Ben Brown. I'd still get Cole Strange experience at center. That can't hurt.
Sure,
he's probably not going to play guard. But I do like what I've seen in Ben Brown, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens at guard. So this week, I wouldn't touch the offensive line. You have a chance. This group is going to be able to start 3 games together. Like, you're starting to build continuity. I know they want Layden Robinson in the lineup. I don't care. The left to right, Lowe, Jordan, Brown, Onwenu, DeMontre Jacobs. That group's working. Keep them out there until they give you a reason to make a change. And if Cole Strange is coming back, you have Layden Robinson on the bench. I think their guards might be... You might have an expendable position at guard, and maybe you can trade there if Cole Strange is going to be back soon.
Yeah, no, I would consider trading a guard if they could get some for him. There's a team out there that has injuries at guard and they need one. Houston, there you go. So if there's a team out there that really needs a guard, and you could trade a guy that like Michael Jordan or like one of those guys that they've been playing, like definitely look into that. Ben Brown has been such a find at center, and like center, that's a position that you don't need to draft them high. You might not even need to get your starting center on day 2 in the draft. So I'm not terribly surprised that Ben Brown has sort of come out of nowhere to, look like a starting caliber NFL center for the most part for the Patriots. I think he could possibly be an option long term. I know it's only been a few games, but if he keeps this up throughout the rest of the season, you got to at least think about that. And frankly, like, David Andrews wasn't really playing well. I know he was playing hurt, so that's probably part of it too. But he wasn't really having his best season, and I feel like Ben Brown has come in and been sort of an improvement there. So really like what I've seen from Brown. Yeah, and Layden Robinson, I think we've also seen enough from him that he can be, a long-term option. That's not a guy I'm giving up on just yet. Like maybe this year he's not really ready to go in there. Understandable. 4th-round rookie, like that's not a guy that typically goes in and starts day 1. Like, I don't think, like, Shaq Mason, I don't think played much as a rookie. I could be wrong about that. But he went in there, year 2, year 3, and he emerged as one of the better guards in the league. I feel like they could get something like that out of Layden Robinson, and that's a guy you can keep around and develop him long term. So for now, I like their guard depth, and I like, the idea of maybe bringing back Cole Strange and putting him in there at guard or center. But, if they could peel off one piece at guard and, maintain the continuity that they've had this week, definitely keep the same 5 that they've had for continuity's sake. But if they could peel off that guard position at the trade deadline, get an actual pick for him, then I'd be open to that.
617-779-0985 if you want to join us. Let's talk a little bit about Patriots defense. We haven't gotten to them yet, and what should be a big opportunity for them today in Tennessee. We'll get to that next here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff is on the way on the Sports Hub.
Home isn't just a place, it's a state of mind. Like curling up in a comfy chair while it's cold outside, with a warm drink, or maybe even a wine in hand. As you watch the world go by outside your window.
Short rib.
Good afternoon, this is your captain speaking.
Which is why at Delta, our people do our best to make you feel at home. Refill? Long before you get there. Delta, keep climbing.
My name is Renee McGinnis, CEO of NVNA and Hospice. As a nurse and a daughter, I know
frustrating, but feel like I'm finally starting to get to a point where I'm comfortable with.
Is it more likely than not likely you'll be able to go Sunday?
Yeah, I don't know. To be determined. We'll see. Yeah.
I know the big thing is throwing in back-to-back days. You got to do that. How is that been?
Yeah, good. That's part of the process is dealing with the recovery and the fatigue and that. So it was good to get out there and throw it around a little bit today, and felt pretty good.
Well, so much for that. That was Will Levis earlier this week saying he feels good after he's missed the last 2 games with a strained AC joint. Patriots fans probably instantly go to Jimmy Garoppolo when they hear that injury. That was the one that knocked him out in 2016. Martellus Bennett famously had some comments on that. But Will Levis not expected to start today with the Titans elevating Trevor Siemian from the practice squad. It looks like it should be Mason Rudolph in this one for the Titans. Meanwhile, they are also going to be without, we know they will not have running back Tajay Spears. Other guys who are banged up, Tyler Boyd is questionable. He did not practice this week. Tony Pollard, who's been good for them at running back, he didn't practice. He's questionable. Dylan Raduns, who's a starting guard for them, he's been out. This is going to be a limited Titans offense. And for a Patriots team that is trying to get its footing, this should be a good chance to work through some of the bugs.
Yeah, especially up front, because the Titans have one of the worst pass blocking win rates in football this year. They can't protect at all.
And they're going to be down some starters.
They're going to be down some starters. Down starter at quarterback. I know Will Levis hasn't played well when he's been out there. Mason Rudolph has never been a spectacular player in his own right. And so, yeah, obviously this goes back to playing the Lions last week, and they're just going to be extra banged up. And look, I know the Patriots are all kind of banged up. They have almost half the roster on the injury report this week, but ironically, it feels like they're sort of trending in the right direction when it comes to injuries, even with Drake May, clearing the concussion protocol and all that. It feels like they're sort of on the way up when it comes to injuries. The Titans are sort of on the way down when it comes to being banged up. So, yeah, offensively, I feel up front they're going to have issues, and I feel like this could be a week where we finally see Keon White make more of an impact, more of the type of impact that he was making earlier in the season. He's really sort of, I think, dropped off in recent weeks. We could maybe see Dietrich Wise pop for a sack at some point. So I look at this defense and I say, please just don't commit pre-snap penalties. Don't do anything stupid, and you'll have your opportunities to make plays, especially in the pass rush.
Yeah, I think for the pass rush and then in the secondary, do you know off the top of your head, I actually did this exercise with somebody, and it took us longer than it should have. What was the last Patriots turnover? Defensive turnover.
Oh, my God. Don't tell me it was when Gonzalez had the interception against, was it Miami?
No, they had one since. Marcus Jones.
Oh, Marcus Jones, right.
Had that tip drill interception. But in each of the, we'll get to this later in the show, there's been no turnovers in the last 2 Patriots games. Either way. Both teams clean sheets. I guess
I'll take a 0 over a minus.
You had a botched punt. That's it. But
they had the turnover on downs. But
turnover on downs,
closest thing.
It's time to get the turnovers going. I think that's been the biggest change production-wise from the Bill Belichick era. Even when the defense wasn't playing well, they would still find ways to get turnovers. And some of that might be getting aggressive and they'd give up more big plays, but they'd always find ways to get turnovers. This defense is not turning the football over. This is a Titans team, again, 16 turnovers in 7 games. They lead the league. This is a team you can turn over. I want to see them kind of get the ball rolling on that. Look, you're not going to play the Titans every week. Obviously, it'd be nice. But if you kind of that basketball idiom of just see one go in, right? Just get one. And maybe that opens the floodgates and they start creating some more turnovers. So that's what I wanted. The pass rush is a good one. And they got to get that thing going because the pass rush has been non-existent. They got a couple hits on the quarterback last week. One of them was a nice play by Keon White. The other one, they sort of just schemed up, and you can't be consistently scheming up those pressures or you're going to start getting beat in the passing game. But I want to see them turn the ball over today.
Yeah, no, I think I like their chances of doing that more than I would have last week. And last week was a week where I feel like they sort of simplified things on defense. They played just more straight man-to-man coverage. They didn't really try to do anything crazy or exotic or disguise what they're doing. And you weren't going to fool Aaron Rodgers anyway, but Aaron Rodgers is still a guy that doesn't, throw a lot of interceptions, doesn't turn the ball over much. Bit of a different story going up against the Titans. It would have been nice if Will Levis were playing today. It's everything you want in a bad quarterback, throws too many picks, takes too many sacks. So that would have been nice, but I don't see Mason Rudolph being the guy that's sort of, right the ship in that regard. So I'm expecting the quarterback on at least one play to be rushed into a bad throw, and there's going to be an opportunity for Christian Gonzalez, Marcus Jones, someone out there to sort of undercut the receiver and make an interception. So I'm interested to see how that works out.
Yeah, I will look. Rudolph will throw the ball away too. I'm missing the memes though. There's been like a Will Levis meme every week where he doesn't just turn the ball over; he does something just ridiculous afterwards, and that's been entertaining. Interesting matchup too. One last thing here on the Titans offense: Christian Gonzalez, Calvin Ridley. A lot of Patriots fans wanted Calvin Ridley here this offseason. He's been okay so far for the Titans. Leads team with 22 catches, 326 yards, and a touchdown in 7 games. He's played better than the production suggests. I think some of that is because those numbers aren't great.
Because they've turned the ball over.
They've turned the ball over. Just the quarterbacks can't get him the football one way or the other. Quarterback play's been really bad. He'll let you hear about it, which you look at what's going on in this Patriots wide receiver room and what would it have been like if he was here. But another good matchup for Christian Gonzalez, and one that, if he has a big game today, they're going to be hearing about it in the front office. Right? So it'll be interesting to see how that matchup goes.
Yeah, no, Calvin Ridley was never a guy that I was super interested in for the Patriots because he's always seemed like a bit of a head case, and he had the off-field thing with the gambling suspension, and he's had these sort of weird things off the field where it's I don't know that he's really a guy that you want to really have in your locker room, and I don't think he has the sort of the makeup of that true number one receiver, the guy that can lead your receiver room. So I was okay with the Patriots not signing him. I would have thought it was a huge overpay if they paid him, $25 million or whatever it was. And so, yeah, the opportunities have been limited there for him, but that's a guy that with the money they're paying him, he should be sort of elevating the quarterback. I know it's sort of hard when they can't get him the ball, but he's got to do more than he has both on and off the field. I don't have much confidence in him. I wouldn't have much confidence in him if I were a Titans fan. And so I think Christian Gonzalez wins that matchup today.
I'll say this. He's going to get his chances. So assuming that the Titans might just run the ball, although their top running, one of their running backs is out, their next running back might also be out. But among leaders in receptions, Calvin Ridley, 22. Tony Pollard, 21, questionable, injury. 21, Tyler Boyd, questionable, injury. Okonkwo, the tight end, is next. He has 17, although I think, was he on the report this week? No, he wasn't. All right, so their next closest is Okonkwo. DeAndre Hopkins, 15, traded. Josh Wiley, 13. So they only have 3 active players who have more than 10 catches this year. In terms of wide receivers, if Tyler Boyd can't go, the next closest to Calvin Ridley is Nick Westbrook-Akine. He has 5 catches. So this is going to be a stripped-down version of what is the 28th ranked offense in the NFL. And we'll see. Maybe some guys make some plays today. They up that trade value. We're going to get into the trade deadline in a little bit. But first, it's time to go around the league. The full Week 9 slate coming up just after these headlines. 90 seconds, no commercials here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
WBZ-FM and HD Boston.
Patriots!
From the opening kickoff to the final play.
Touchdown!
Your home of the pass.
Yes.
98.5. The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
It's Week 9 in the NFL, and the New England Patriots are back on the road. They take on the Tennessee Titans this afternoon, and they are expected to have quarterback Drake May cleared concussion protocol and was removed from the injury report on Saturday. For May and the Patriots, it's a 1 o'clock kick. Pre-game coverage begins at 10 on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Looking at the rest of the NFL slate, there is an AFC East matchup on the schedule in the 1 o'clock window as the Bills host the Miami Dolphins. The big game of the day, that's at 4:25 when the Detroit Lions visit the Green Bay Packers in an NFC North matchup. Sunday Night Football tonight has the Indianapolis Colts visiting the Minnesota Vikings. Chaos in college football yesterday. 7 top 25 teams all losing. Penn State, Texas A&M, Clemson, Iowa State, Kansas State, Pitt, and Illinois all lost. That's ahead of the first college football playoff rankings of the year. Those come out on Tuesday. The Celtics completed their sweep of the Charlotte Hornets with a 113-103 win last night. Jason Tatum added 29 points to his season total. Peyton Pritchard scored 22. And the Bruins, they're back at home tonight hosting the Seattle Kraken this afternoon. It's a 5 o'clock puck drop. Pregame starts at 4:30 on our sister station, Country 102.5 in the Bruins Radio Network. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the Shaws and Star Market Foundation. They've teamed with Trent Frederick for Feeding the Puck for families to help fight food insecurity. Learn how they're assisting the Greater Boston Food Bank at 985thesportshub.com/feed the puck. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub, your next update during Patriots pregame.
Listen to it, laugh at it, get mad at it, agree with it, argue about it. It is Boston Sports. Boston Sports. And it is all we do. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
He begins the approach with a run-up and a swing right leg.
Every football game starts with a kickoff. This is Sunday Kickoff with Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle on your home for Patriots football. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Pick a target.
You pick it.
Take your pick.
Pick me! Pick me!
I did not pick. There was no pick.
Pick him up. You pick him up.
Pick.
I pick.
Pick me, pick me, pick me.
Pick the teams.
Pick one, jerk.
Week 9 in the NFL. Dolloff, it's your debut on the Pick'em segment. Pressure's on, buddy.
Oh, boy, here we go.
We'll start with an easy one. We won't make you make a pick right away. Let's start on Thursday night, as we usually do, when the Texans visited the New York Jets.
Tough game. What are you going to do tonight? Probably have 3 or 4 fingers,
What was that?
That was Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show a few weeks ago saying his after games, his tradition is to have 3 or 4 fingers of scotch.
Oh, I thought it was from Thursday night, but the Jets won 21-13. Texans in trouble?
I wouldn't say they're in trouble. I feel like that's just Thursday night. Anything can happen. I don't really chalk that up to anything big picture for either team. Like, I don't feel like the Jets have righted the ship. I don't feel the Texans are on the way down. I just sort of throw that out the window. I think Texans rebound next week.
Jets have an easier schedule coming up, so there's all this hype that they found it, they're going to turn around. No, they're the Jets. I know how this works. We all know how this works. All right, let's get to today. Let's start in the NFC, where the 3-4 Cowboys visit the 5-3 Atlanta Falcons.
Well, we're designing bad plays, or we're designing bad concepts.
Then fire him, Jerry. You want to fire the radio host, fire the offensive coordinator. The Falcons, 3.5-point favorites. It's also the highest total of the week, 51.5 points.
Yeah, I feel like the Falcons cover this one. I feel like they just barely cover. I feel like it is a sort of a shootout, high-scoring game, and it ends with a Younghoe Koo field goal for the Falcons.
Very specific pick off the bat. I like it. Well, if it ends with, they're 3.5-point favorites. So if it's a walk-off field goal, they don't cover.
Oh, sorry. I'm looking at my own pick-em pool that I do every week. They start with the early line.
Okay.
And they started at 2.5.
They started at 2.5.
Okay.
So you're right. You're right on the number. I think the Cowboys have it cover that. I think the Falcons win, but I'm going off the 3.5. Let's go to the AFC, where the Denver Broncos visit the Baltimore Ravens.
Big trust. Woo woo. Lamar Jackson in the flesh.
Both of these teams being 5-3 is odd, because the Ravens I picked to win the Super Bowl or be a Super Bowl team, and the Broncos I thought would be one of the worst teams in football. They certainly don't look like two teams that have the same record, and the line reflects that. Baltimore, an 8.5-point favorite. Also, this came out this morning. Deontay Johnson, after being acquired at the trade deadline, expect to be available for 15 to 20 snaps for Baltimore.
Yeah, I like Denver to cover this week. I feel like the Baltimore could, pull out the win there, but I don't see them winning by more than 8.5. I think Denver, has a surprisingly good offensive game. Baltimore hasn't been great defensively this year, so I think Denver goes in there and sort of surprises people with their effort, but Baltimore pulls out a low-scoring win.
I think the bottom's got to fall out for Denver eventually. I take Baltimore to cover what is the largest line of the day. Not of the week, but of the day. Let's go to the AFC East, where the 6-2 Bills host the 2-5 Dolphins.
I think tomorrow, there's a birthday tomorrow. I just read it. There's a player's birthday. I should announce that.
I don't think there's one likable thing about Mike McDaniel.
He's so high all the time.
Spreads high. Bills
Get the words out.
Spreads high. Bills 6.5-point favorites at home.
Yeah, I like the Bills in that one. I feel like they cover that and then some. I think they win by more than 7.
I like the Bills in that one as well. How about this gem? Don't miss this. Appointment viewing in the NFC South. If there ever was an NFC South game, it's the 2-6 Saints at the 1-7 Panthers.
Well, we can't talk, Barth.
So you eat like
I don't really eat vegetables like pizza.
what? So you eat like pizza.
And like I just started eating asparagus.
Spears, I love him.
I wanted him going into the draft, and I've wanted him more and more with each passing clip.
Xavier Legette.
He's such a gem.
The Saints are 7.5-point favorites on the road.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a closer game. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think that's another game that could be, 16-13, something like that. Comes down to a field goal. So I like the Panthers to cover. And I'll take the Saints to win, but I like the Panthers to cover that spread.
I'm with you. 7.5 points for a divisional team on the road. 2 evenly matched teams, albeit struggling. All Saints. I'm going backwards there, actually. Sorry. Give me the Panthers to cover, Saints to win.
So we agree.
Yeah, 7.5 point underdog at home is a lot in a divisional game. Going back to the AFC, we have the 2-6 Raiders at the 3-5 Bengals.
They're definitely real. I think I make too much money to have fake ones, so.
Sneaky big game for the Patriots. If the Bengals lose, do they cut their losses with T. Higgins? Vegas doesn't think so, though. 7.5-point favorites. Joe Burrow and the Cats.
I got to pick the Bengals. I feel like eventually they got to pull out of this malaise that they're in this year, right?
That's
I feel
where
like
I'm at.
Burrow and Chase are just too good. And, I wonder about Zach Taylor's job security if they keep playing this way. But this matchup, I like the Bengals to win and cover.
We've got the 4-3 Chargers at the 2-6 Browns.
He said, you only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity lasts once in a lifetime.
Jameis is just the best. The best quote.
You got to quote it accurately if you're going to quote that.
No, not if you're Jameis Winston. That's not how it works. He plays by different rules.
It's his world we're living in.
Chargers 1.5-point favorites going to Cleveland. I'm buying the Jameis effect, Dolph. Give me the Browns.
I like the Browns to win this game.
Same.
I think they might only win by 1.5, 2 points.
Well, they're dogs.
But they're dogs. But I mean, it might be a close game. But yeah, I think I like I like what you call it, the Jameis effect, where he gets a little quick burst going in there, and so I feel like the Chargers have been, from my view, it's a disappointing season. But I guess for you, it's been what you expected.
Well, I expect them to be worse. The whole team seems reinvigorated with Jameis Winston. The fan base, they kept talking about the energy in that building last week.
I think he has that way about him, but he just doesn't put it together consistently on the field.
Guys want to play for him, but he will throw 4 picks in a game. That will happen at some point this year. NFC East, the 6-2 Commanders at the 2-6 Giants.
At the end of the day, I want to be known as Jane Daniels and not the next such and such.
Good for him. Good for him on that. Jane Daniels, another week removed from that rib injury. Didn't seem to be a problem last week when he threw that Hail Mary. That was awesome. Giants 4.5-point favorites going into MetLife.
4.5. The Giants are underdogs, right?
Commanders 4.5-point favorites going to MetLife.
Yeah, I'll take the Commanders. I'm a believer in Jane Daniels. I always thought he was going to be a very good player. The question is just staying healthy, and so I think that's sort of come to fruition here. But I like the way the Commanders have played with Jane Daniels. I like them to win this game and cover.
I'm with the Commanders as well. I think they win this one actually pretty comfortably. I know I just said the whole thing about underdog favorites at home in divisional games, but the Giants they're bad. This is a mismatch. Patriots Titans we'll get back into more, but I will tell you that is the lowest total of the week. Only game in the 30s. 38 is the total for Patriots Titans. We go into the 4 o'clock window where we've got the 4-3 Bears at the 4-4 Cardinals.
Wow, I'm tired, Grandpa. What do you say? That's too damn man.
Apparently, this is like a sneaky rivalry. These teams get really chippy on social media. Cardinals 1.5-point favorites at home.
I'll take the Cardinals. Yeah, they're at home, and I feel like Chicago might be reeling a little bit from that loss last week, and it might be tough for them to sort of recover from that. I'll take the Cardinals.
See, I'm going to take the Bears in a bounce back. I think you lose that way. You've got something to prove. I think the Cardinals are a little overrated. It's not as long of a trip for them to go out to Arizona as for some other teams. Give me the Bears in a shootout. Total for this is only 44.5. I feel like that should be higher.
I'll take the over. It's a good test for Caleb Williams, to your point, to see if he can sort of right the ship.
Let's head to Philly, where the 5-2 Eagles host the 2-6 Jaguars.
Yeah, he'll still revert back to his Patriot ways every now and then, and we got to remind him he's in Jacksonville.
All right, though. Calm down there. Settle down. The Jaguars nearly beat the Packers last week, so a sign of life for the Jags. A couple good games in a row here. They are 7.5-point underdogs.
So this is the type of game where it feels fishy to me, where I feel like it's going to be closer than people expect. I feel like it could end by a touchdown or less. So I like the Jags to cover, but I think Philly makes just enough plays at the end to win, but they only win by 7 or less.
That's how it's gone for both these teams this year. The Eagles have a problem letting go of the rope. The Jaguars, at least the last couple weeks, have been scrappy. I'm with you. Give me the Jags to cover, but the Eagles to win. Game of the week, in my mind, in the NFC North, the 6-1 Lions at the 6-2 Packers.
We'll play anywhere. We'll play on grass. We'll play on turf. We'll go to landfill.
Love Dan Campbell. It's probably been a while since the Lions were favorited going into Lambeau Field, but they are 2.5-point favorites today.
See, I like the Packers. I like the Packers to pull out the win today. I feel shaky picking against the Lions the way they played.
I mean, you should. It feels weird that you feel weird picking the Packers in a divisional game at Lambeau Field.
I know,
right? But I'm taking the Lions. I'm taking the Lions. I think they've played well. Jordan Love, not the best few weeks of football for him, and I wonder if that continues in this one. Final game in the 4 o'clock window, we've got the 3-4 Rams at the 4-4 Seahawks.
All right, bring him down in short motion and get the Halle Berry. Halle Berry, come out with some depth out of this.
The Seahawks are 1.5-point favorite, 1.5-point underdogs at home.
Seahawks have been sort of on the downturn. Rams have been playing better. I like the Rams.
Yeah, you mentioned that Seahawks downturn. So they started the year 3-0. They're 1-4 since. They've gotten blown out multiple times. I think the Seahawks are flailing. I know Puka Nacua might be banged up for this game, but I like the Rams in a close one, but I like the Rams at 1.5-point spread. I'm not going to be like, oh, the Seahawks cover 1-point game. That just feels like a bit much. And then Sunday Night Football, we've got the 4-4 Colts at the 5-2 Vikings.
I'm sorry, I don't want to be a Scrooge. I'm not Scrooge. I love you guys.
Joe Flacco will start this one. Vikings are 5.5-point favorites. Give me your pick, and then I have a stat I want to share.
I'm going to pick I'm going to pick the Colts. Sorry.
Oh,
yeah, I got a little
Joe
discombobulated for a second there. Well, I'm going to pick the Colts to cover. I'm not sure. I got to think about who I actually think is going to win. But I think the official benching of Anthony Richardson and saying we're going with Joe Flacco, I feel like that sort of invigorates the Colts offense. We saw him in that Steelers game. I feel like they've sort of responded when Joe Flacco's been out there, and now that it's sort of officially Flacco's time for the rest of the season, I think the Colts respond well, and they keep this game close. I think the Vikings still pull it out, but they might need a field goal at the very end to pull that off.
I think the Vikings win, but you mentioned Anthony Richardson. This from Adam Schefter this morning. Based on history, this looks like the beginning of the end for Anthony Richards' times in Indianapolis. From 2000 to 2022, there were 66 quarterbacks selected in the first round of the NFL draft. 25 of those were benched at some point while on their rookie contract. Mitch Trubisky's the only one who started a playoff game or was selected to the Pro Bowl with the team that drafted him after being benched. I just need to take a little victory lap on once you put Drake May in, you can't pull him because you see how dysfunctional that becomes. For whatever reason, it doesn't work. So I just need to take a quick victory lap on that. But I have the Vikings to win and cover, honestly, in that one. I think Minnesota's playing good football right now. And then Monday night, the only unbeaten team in the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs at 7-0, host the 4-4 Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I actually was not trying to lower my shoulder. I was trying to absorb the hit and get in the end zone. And that dad bod, man, just had enough weight on me where he went down.
Couldn't tell you why this is a primetime game other than the fact that the Chiefs are in it. The Buccaneers have had their issues. They're very banged up. They lost the Falcons last week, 31-26. Spread reflects that reality. Chiefs 9.5-point favorites, biggest favorite of the week.
See, I'm still picking the Bucs to sort of cover the spread there. I feel like I can't pick against the Chiefs to win or win the game. I think the Chiefs are going to win the game, but I think the Bucs are going to keep it closer than 9.5. I've been impressed with Baker Mayfield the way he's played in the last few weeks with all his receivers getting banged up. So I feel like they still keep it close, but the Chiefs pull it out.
I think the Chiefs end up. I think it's on the opposite of you. I think it's close for most of the game, and then the Chiefs pull away late because they do that because they're annoying.
Sure, they're up 3 in the fourth, and they score a late touchdown.
And then they score a late touchdown. Then there's like a pick six, and then
I just have a feeling it's going to be one of those shootout close games that's going to come down to the very end. But the Chiefs will pull that one out.
I wouldn't be mad. It is the last football game we have to watch this year with political ads.
Oh, that's
so that feels
good.
Pretty good, right? 2 bye weeks this week. The Steelers and the Niners both off. So, there is an early game this week, actually, right? No, next week. Next week is the Germany game. Early game next week, so you still have some time to set your fantasy lineup. Again, the Steelers and Niners on the bye, and that's week 9. That's what it looks like. Will it be how many players will be playing the final game?
More Sunday Kickoff coming up on the Sports Hub.
Get on up and get on down to Hooters.
Where else can you get a burger, fries, and an ice cold draft beer? Served by a world-famous Hooters girl for under $20.
Of course, in the NFL has moved a bunch. So we've seen DeAndre Hopkins, Amari Cooper, Deontay Johnson today got moved, Devontae Adams got moved. And so the names I've heard
the deadline surrounding the Patriots.
Yeah, so like I've heard that they've gotten calls and are fielding calls on corners and receivers. And the receiver market, of course, in the NFL has moved a bunch. So we've seen DeAndre Hopkins, Amari Cooper, Deontay Johnson today got moved, Devontae Adams got moved. And so the names I've heard they've gotten calls on are actually interesting. It's KJ Osborne and it's Tyquan Thornton. And I think the reason why Thornton has some value to teams is because that sort of speed you can't coach it, right? So every coach looks at a guy like that and says, I can do something with him. So, like, if you want to add some maturity to the room, maybe a player-for-player swap, you trade Tyquan Thornton to Carolina for Adam Thielen. Like, that could be something you might be able to look at, right? Like, and maybe you send the Panthers a pick on top of that. As for corner, they're obviously not trading Christian Gonzalez. I don't think they want to trade Jonathan Jones, but I think they're open for business on everybody else.
Albert Breer this week. He had me up until trading for Adam Thielen. Yeah, I don't know about that. I'd rather have the picks. I get the veteran leadership thing, but that worked so well with KJ Osborne, right? So
no, Osborne has been so disappointing in that regard. Like I feel like they brought him in to be that sort of steady veteran presence, and when it gets bad, he sort of handles it well. He's going out demanding trades, and he's like gesturing, like, "Hey, give me a call for a trade." Like, he hasn't handled it well at all. And it's like, you're KJ Osborne. Why are you acting like this? So if he wants out and they can get a trade for him, then I'd be fine with that.
It's Alex Barth and Matt Dolloff on 98.5 The Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff, taking up until Patriots pregame at 10 o'clock with Jim Murray and Chris Gasper. Bob and Zoe, the call of Kickoff at once. A full day here on the Sports Hub. Post-game with Joe Murray and Leroy Irvin afterwards. And then we flip over to Bruins coverage. Bruins Kraken. So it's going to be a full day here. And then that leads up to post-game coverage all day tomorrow. You know, the usual suspects. And then Tuesday's the NFL trade deadline at 4 o'clock. And that's why we played that clip coming back. The Patriots have already made one move. They traded Joshua Uche to start the week. KJ Osborne, Tyquan Thornton have been talked about quite a bit. I know people say, well, what do you get for those guys? You get them off the roster. That's what you get. And I'm usually not somebody who's into trade them for the sake of trading them, but you got to get these kids snaps. These two guys, especially Osborne, are clearly going to be disgruntled if they're not playing, and they shouldn't be playing down the stretch. If it's like Tyquan Thornton in a 7th for a 6th, even if you don't add a pick, even if it's just a pick swap, that's still probably worth it. Mike Reese suggesting this morning in his column that maybe Osborne just gets released. Little like NBA buyout market style thing there. Outside of those guys, though, like unless somebody makes you Godfather offer, I don't need the Patriots having an aggressive fire sale. This is a team that needs talent. They should not have talent exiting the roster. So you start hearing... We didn't hear they were trying to trade Christian Gonzalez, but you heard teams were calling on him. That phone should be hung up immediately. Immediately. And you hear like Devon Godshaw. Kyle Duggar's name came up in a Diana Rossini report yesterday. It would be a bad idea. I'm just going to say it. Especially Kyle Duggar. This is a guy that they signed to a 4-year extension, and they made a team captain within the last few months. Not only is Kyle Duggar a good player, and I know some people are down on his production this year, they need to get a real free safety so he can play in the box. Like that has to happen this offseason. But he's still a good player. On top of that, what message does it send to the locker room and to potential future free agents that you give the guy a 4-year deal, you name him a captain, and within months he's off the team? If you're operating that way, you're going to have trouble getting players to come here. We talked about this with Kendrick Bourne when he was in the Brandon Ayuk trade a couple months ago. Now, that was a little bit different. Bourne had been to San Francisco. He'd been in San Francisco. He'd played there, right? His role here was going to diminish if they made that trade. They kind of talked about talking it over with him. That's a little different, but I still raised that at the time as a concern. Like, this is a guy now. You got to check where he's at. You trade Kyle Duggar, you're going to have to answer a lot of questions you don't want to have to answer. And it's the return you're going to get from him is not going to be worth it. Nobody's giving you a first-round pick for Kyle Duggar. I don't think you're getting a second-round pick for Kyle Duggar. His name should not be coming up in trade talks.
Yeah, no, they shouldn't be trading Duggar. They shouldn't be trading any of these guys that sort of represent the culture that they're trying to build, and guys that have sort of, handled things well this season as it's not gone particularly well. I put Kendrick Bourne and Devon Godshaw in that category as well. I think those guys have conducted themselves with professionalism and class and all that, and I feel like that's important to have in a situation like this where you're not going to be a good team going into the year, and then things started to go south over, the last several weeks, first couple months of the year, and it looked even worse than maybe some people were expecting with the way they've been coached and just the way these games have looked out there. You can't get rid of the guys that have actually handled it well. Like Kyle Duggar has been one of the only guys on defense that I think has consistently showed up on the field. I thought he played really well in that Jacksonville game. He wasn't one of the soft guys out there in Jacksonville, so I'm completely with you. Don't trade Kyle Duggar. I feel like if they're even considering that, like they have to hold out for a stupid offer. If someone is offering first or a second round pick for Kyle Duggar, but I think if people are expecting Kyle Duggar to be this like great passing game safety, he's a box safety, but he's really good at it. And so if they can get a more consistent free safety, I feel like Jalen Hawkins is disappointed in that role. If they can get a true free safety to pair with Kyle Duggar, I think Kyle Duggar is a cornerstone guy going forward. And I feel like Devon Godshaw is another guy where you're struggling to stop the run up the middle, and then you're going to get rid of Devon Godshaw. Like I don't get that part of it. And Kendrick Bourne is the only receiver in the room that's really handled this whole season as well as you can expect. And so right. I don't think they should get rid of any of those guys.
Let's go to Bill in Newton, who wouldn't mind if they traded Kyle Duggar. Why is that, Bill?
Yeah, see, I disagree with what you said. I mean, the bottom line is the only thing potential free agents care about is was the guy paid, and he was paid. So whether or not they move him or not is completely irrelevant, in my opinion. Kyle Duggar got a contract, and that is what the Patriots didn't used to do, but they're doing it now. So a potential free agent might look at that and say, I have no problem going there. You're right. You might not get the value that you're looking for, but he's okay. He's nothing great. Gonzalez, I agree. I would never trade for him. He's probably a number one corner, and you want to keep that as long as you can. And the reason Duggar was made a captain, in my opinion, is because who else are you going to name captain? This team doesn't have any friggin' talent. They stink. And also, why the hell would they trade for Adam Thielen? I mean, is Michael Irvin not available? I mean, what the hell does it do to bring a guy like that on this team? He's 35 years old. He doesn't produce anymore. He's always hurt. If you're going to trade Thornton, just trade him for picks. All right, peace, guys.
Yeah, good call, Bill. Love that part at the end. We'll have to agree to disagree on the thing with Duggar and his contract. I just know of instances where it might not be the player specifically. It might be the agents who don't like. If you're selling to a player, 4-year deal, you're not just here for a stop. Like you're buying a house. You're moving your family. You're becoming a part of this organization in this community.
Yeah, I think it's pretty binary. I think if you're not demanding a trade like KJ Osborne, I think you prefer to stay. I don't think players want to get traded unless they're openly asking for it.
Right, and that doesn't mean like you can't trade him eventually, but the year you signed the contract, unless Duggar's asking for it, like you said, it's
I don't think anyone that signs a 4-year deal wants to get traded year one. I don't think anyone would be happy with that. I don't think they'll be like, well, they paid me.
Right. These guys are going to look at it and say, well, I moved, I got settled here, all that. Like, if I'm going to go up there, you're telling me I'm going to be a part of this team, but you probably told Kyle Duggar that. And, it's a trust thing. He got the contract, but it's a trust thing.
And I'm not sure I agree with Bill on the talent part. I feel like Kyle Duggar has sort of earned that captain role. I don't think it's a guy like, well, who else are we going to name a captain? I don't think it's that.
They were kind of running out of guys on. I think Kyle Duggar is a worthy captain, but they were kind of running out of guys on defense
because of injuries.
Yeah,
because Juwan Bentley got hurt. That's. I don't think it was that we don't have any other players, so we have to name Kyle Duggar a captain. I think Kyle Duggar is a worthy captain.
I'll say this: I was a little surprised he didn't get named a captain in the first place. But when they needed to reassign that captain patch at that point, I don't know who else they would have given it to. Honestly, I don't know who was next. Any interest in the Patriots buying at the deadline?
Nothing big. They don't need to. I don't think they need to make big moves either way. Whether it's selling off a core guy or going out and getting that starting left tackle or getting that number one receiver. I know people want them to get that play. I just don't think they're really in position to do that. I think I'd rather see them get those guys in the draft than maybe you make the big offseason move for a wide receiver that we've seen a lot of teams do. there might be an opportunity there. But I feel like as far as buying, make a depth move, bring in a run-stopping defensive tackle, bring in, maybe a bigger outside corner for depth because they just don't have a lot of size at that position. Make moves like that on the margins where you can sort of improve in areas where you've needed to improve and you haven't really had the personnel dealing with injuries. Inside linebacker is a spot where maybe they could bring in a depth guy. Like make a little depth move here and there. Maybe you make a player-for-player swap. Like if someone wants to send you something for Tyquan Thornton and you make a player-for-player swap, like something like that I'd be interested in. I don't think they need to do anything big.
If a Montez Sweat type of trade was available, I wouldn't be opposed to them doing it. I just don't think it's available. If the closest I see them getting, like one of these edge rushers, like Baron Browning in Denver or Chase Young in New Orleans, like do you give up a 4th-round pick for one of those guys?
See, I'm not sure I would do that. I feel like if you're talking about a 6th-round pick swap, like I'd be interested in something like that.
Assuming you can sign the guy to an extension, I'd do it. Like they need talent. They need an infusion of talent. Are you going to get a better edge rusher with a 4th-round pick than Chase Young?
With the pick that they're using next year, I mean, I guess that's highly unlikely.
Right. So they need talent. They need to be in the talent. They're not tanking anymore. They need to be in the talent acquisition business. So if they can acquire talent, without totally breaking their backs, I don't think it would be the worst move. I just don't think that move is going to be there. That Montez Sweat trade last year, that was a really unique kind of scenario that allowed that to happen. So trade deadline is Tuesday at 4:00. We will have coverage on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Myself, Matt Dolloff, will have coverage all day leading up to it. Really, I expect it to start tomorrow. We got Josh Uche, right, Monday morning. So that's the thing about everybody uses that trade deadline time as like, oh, that's when everything's going to happen. No, that's when everything has to be done. So 98.5thesportshub.com will have plenty of coverage of the trade deadline throughout the week. But there is a game to play first. Patriots, Titans. We'll continue to talk about that next here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
Like professional sports, life can be rough and tumble. Make sure you're ready to take care of yourself and your family with health insurance from the Massachusetts.
tight end Schultz, hand down right. With a split to the near side of the field, right Dell. Shotgun snap to Stroud. Surveys the field, rolls right, tosses to the end zone for the tight end. And picked off. Marcus Jones has it. Off the deflection by Mapu. Runs it right to the 10, to the 15, to the 20, to the 25, and he's tackled from behind. A rare interception thrown by Stroud. Marcus Jones with a theft, his second. And eventually, Dameon Pierce brought him down.
And I thought this was going to be an easy touchdown because he had position on the backside. But it's right at the end there. Marte Mapu gets the deflection off the left hand. Great effort by him because he was beaten on a play. And Jones is there, takes it back to the 28.
So if you were listening to the show earlier, you know why we came back playing that. It's Alex Barth and Matt Dolloff on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff. That was Marcus Jones' interception against the Texans. That's the last time the Patriots forced a turnover, believe it or not. 3 weeks ago now. In each of the last two Patriots games, there have been 0 turnovers either way. Patriots have had 3 such games this year in total. There are also no turnovers in their opener against the Seahawks. As we look at this Patriots-Titans matchup, Dolph, this is my big key to the game. This is something I'm really focused on. The turnover battle. So far this season, no team has turned the ball over more than the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans lead the NFL with 16 turnovers on offense.
Worst differential in the league, Barth, minus 13.
There's a reason for that. So again, where do the Titans rank offensively in turnovers? Dead last. They've given it away 16 times. Where do the Titans rank in takeaways, Matt Dolloff?
I don't know. Tell me.
Dead last. They've only turned opponents over 3 times. They have given the ball away more than anybody, and they have taken it away less than anybody. For a Patriots team that defensively has struggled to turn the ball over, and offensively you have a young quarterback where turnovers are a question, I want to see the Patriots win the turnover battle today definitively. I want to see multiple turnovers from the defense, none from the offense. That would be an incredibly encouraging sign. For the offense, it's just, again, about Drake May. But I think the defense, they need to turn the ball over if they want to win games. And I think getting a couple today maybe helps get that going, maybe helps build some momentum.
Yeah, and I think the Patriots, they're -1 on turnover differential because they fumbled a lot. The fumble problems early in the year sort of, I think, skewed that a little bit. Otherwise, I think they'd be positive.
They are +1. +1. But they've played 8 games. They've only turned the ball over in 3 of them. But they have 4 turnovers in one game and 3 in another. So they're coming in bunches.
I don't know where I saw the -1, but yeah, they're around even, right? And I think the fumbles have sort of,
Oh no, sorry, they are -1. I read that backwards.
Thank you.
That's on me.
Gaslighting Barth over there.
I'll go take a lap.
All right, yeah, go take a lap. And no, this sort of echoes what I was saying earlier in the show, where I think the way they simplified the defense could sort of help them to force more turnovers, especially with man-to-man coverage if they can force a bad throw. I just think they weren't going to get that from Aaron Rodgers because he just sort of avoids turnovers. He's one of the best ever at doing that. Not exactly the best at avoiding turnovers in the Tennessee Titans with Mason Rudolph out there at quarterback. I feel like there's going to be opportunities there, especially for the secondary to make an interception. So if I could bet on it, I don't bet on the Patriots really, but if we could bet on someone to have over/under interceptions, I would probably bet on that today.
Yeah, I again, turnovers, key thing for me in this game. What else are you watching for in this one, Dolph? What else has your interest?
The Titans have one of the worst punt returning teams in the league, so maybe you can force it.
Let me clarify.
Yeah.
They have one of the worst special teams units in the league, period. It's all atrocious. Continue.
Right, exactly. But I think punt returns specifically is an area where you could force a turnover, make a sort of game-breaking play. I think the way they cover kicks is going to be important today. It's a way for them to show toughness. I feel like that unit has been sort of hit or miss. I think they've had some really, really good games, and they've also had some bad games. They're that sort of, what's going to show up today. So if the Patriots punt kick coverage units can show up today, I think that's a good opportunity for them to control field position and maybe force a turnover. And so I'm looking for hopefully a big play on special teams for the Patriots today.
So last week against Detroit, the Titans allowed a 72-yard kick return and a 90-yard punt return touchdown. It's not good. And I talked to Justin Mello this week. He covers the Titans. You can check it out on the Sports Hub Patriots podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, or on the Sports Hub YouTube channel. And he told me basically what the explanation has been. So I guess the special teams coordinator is, I'm blanking on his name. He was a special teams ace for the Eagles for a while, but he's a first-year guy. He's new in his role. And I guess his explanation was basically they had 2 punts blocked the first 2 weeks, and they just max protect now. They just max protect the punter. They don't go down and like cover kicks. Not, they send the gunners down, but they don't do much more than that.
Colt Anderson,
thank you. Wyoming legend. I knew where he went to college, but I didn't know his name. There's going to be chances for the Patriots special teams to break 1 or 2 in this game. Absolutely.
And we saw Marcus Jones with that big return last week. It helped set up a touchdown. It was a huge play in the game at the time.
Big play.
So if Marcus Jones can take one to the end zone, like that could be the play that changes the whole game, makes the difference. So, yeah, I'm looking for that.
Before we move on here, let's go to Christian in Framingham, who has a trade deadline thought. Christian, good morning.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey.
I was just thinking, I think we should do a little trade swap with Thornton. I think we should send him to New York for Jalen Hyatt, second-year kid out of Tennessee. He's a big playmaker, just hasn't worked out there. Same thing with Thornton, hasn't worked out here. I think he'd just be a guy who can take the top over the defense. If it doesn't work out, we didn't lose anything. So I just want to hear your thoughts on that, maybe.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Christian. It's funny, I actually compared Hyatt to Thornton coming out in the draft that year. I'm good. I don't need to do that. Like, why you're trading Tyquan Thornton for Tyquan Thornton? What does that solve?
You get Tyquan Thornton.
Great. Get the kids on the field.
Who needs Thornton? They got Thornton.
The problem is right now they have more bodies and snaps, and they got to thin it out because guys are going to get frustrated not playing. In the offseason, if they wanted to do something like that, they've taken enough flyers on wide receivers. So I'd rather have the pick, but that's just me.
If they could swap Thornton for another position, I'd be into that.
That if you could add some corner depth, you could add some. You're not going to get tackle for him, but like if you could add some corner depth,
defensive tackle,
defense tackle, edge rusher. Okay, then maybe, but yeah, I don't need. They don't need to add another receiver. They have receivers that they're not playing that they need to play.
Yeah, that's Thornton's not a case where like you 2 guys need to change a scenery, and so you swap them.
And by the way, the Giants, same thing. The Giants, they can't figure out that kind of player, and the Giants are going to want picks because they're going to need to trade up for a quarterback. Because Daniel Jones, not the answer, not remotely. I think that's become blatantly clear this year. We got 1 segment left on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff. Game picks coming up next, and then it's time for Patriots pregame here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Stay tuned for more Sunday Kickoff on the Sports Hub.
Country Ski and Sport in Hanson, Quincy, and Westwood has served the Boston area ski community for over 50 years. Discover Country Ski's seasonal junior lease program, where every child that leases with Country Ski receives a free season's pass to Saddleback Mountain. Book your lease appointment today at countryski.com.
November, the season of touchdowns, turkey, and giving thanks. But what if you could add finding money to the list? Well, you might be able to when visiting findmassmoney.gov. Here in Massachusetts, 1 in 10 people have unclaimed property, from things like uncashed paychecks, refunds from overpaid bills, or forgotten savings accounts. Findmassmoney.gov is free, easy to use, and it only takes 30 seconds to search your name. So this November, make a winning play and visit findmassmoney.gov, because finding money is the ultimate game changer. That's findmassmoney.gov.
The NFL continues on, and there's no better place to get in on the action on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. There's a Patriots same-game parlay for you. Drake May over passing yards. Drake May over touchdown pass.
Make a donation, and to learn how you can help the Red Cross Disaster Relief Emergency and Recovery efforts, go to our website.
It's never too early to talk football on Sunday.
Coming to the game on Sunday.
This is Sunday Kickoff with Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Here on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff. Final segment, Alex Barth, Matt Dolloff in for Cerrone Battle this week. Kyle Fabrizio behind the glass. If you missed any of the show, you can find it wherever you get your podcast, Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff. You can also find it on the Sports Hub YouTube page. You can follow us on Twitter at SunKickoff985. We'll be getting out of here in a couple minutes, making way for Patriots pregame with Jim Murray and Chris Gasper. They'll take you up till about 12:30. Bob and Zoe have the call at 1, and then it's Joe Murray and Leroy Irvin in here for postgame afterwards. And then Bruins Kraken tonight. Full day and night here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. You can catch the game here. And then Matt will be going over to TD Garden. Is Ty there tonight as well?
I believe so, yep.
Matt and Ty will have Bruins coverage on 98.5thesportshub.com as well as Patriots coverage leading up to busy couple days. And we got the trade deadline tomorrow. I'm on this roll plugging stuff. I might as well keep going. NHL trade deadline on Tuesday, so we'll have a lot tomorrow, 98.5thesportshub.com.
NFL trade deadline.
What?
You said NHL trade.
NFL trade deadline. No, NHL trade deadline, we got a little bit. And Sports Hub Patriots podcast will be tomorrow as well. But, of course, first we got to play the game. Patriots, Titans. Dolph, who do you like in this one?
So I like the Patriots. I think I'm going to predict the score to be 20-16. I think the Patriots make a few more plays on offense. I think they do get that aforementioned big special teams play that sort of sets them up with a short field, and they can, maybe get an easy touchdown that way. I think they're just catching the Titans at the right time. I think the Titans are going to be all sorts of banged up from that Lions game. That hangover is going to continue, and I think just the injuries that the Titans are dealing with, I think it's going to be a little too much, and the Patriots are sort of riding the momentum of the win last week, so I like the Patriots today. We'll see if the Patriots can sort of carry this over, in the coming weeks after this, but I think this is just the right time for the Patriots to catch this Titans team.
But you know what? That would be good. Regardless of who you play, you pick up a couple of wins. And that's an underrated story here. Both these teams have first-year head coaches, right? Brian Callahan in Tennessee and obviously Gerard Mayo, both trying to establish programs, both trying to establish cultures. That can get away from you real quick. Real quick. And I think both coaches it's not a must-win, it's a can't-lose for both of these coaches. You're Brian Callahan. You're now at 1-7. You got 3 your next 4 on the road. That includes the Texans. That includes the Vikings. That includes the Commanders. This thing could get away from you like that if you don't win this game. For Gerard Mayo, obviously they have the win last week, but again, trade deadline coming off. You might be moving some players. Back-to-back wins would do a lot to get the buy-in for. We've talked about this using those like Dan Campbell Lions teams as an example that if you can, even if they win 5 games, if 4 of them come in the second half of the year, it's like, okay, you're now building towards something. You get that momentum. Players need to be invested in order for that to happen, and you win a couple of games here back-to-back. There you go. Now you've got guys buying back in, and now maybe you start reestablishing the culture. So I think this has the potential to be, I don't know, I feel bad calling it a big game because it's 2-6 versus 1-6, and big game implies some sort of stakes for the season, but I think this could be an important game in the Gerard Mayo era. Because, again, you win this, you get those back-to-back, and now you really start building up that program. Also, Drake May still needs to get, his first real win. I think he technically got the win last week, right? Because he started, he did get the win. He's 1-2. It's not like baseball where they choose, who is a bigger part of it. But
the quarterback of record.
Drake May getting, his first real win, I think, 4 starts in. Let's get going here already.
And this is his first real road game, too.
This is his first
games
real
at
road
home.
Game.
And he played in London, neutral site. So this is his first real road game. Good test for him. And to your point, Bart, this is a big test.
3 next 4 on the road, so got to get ready for that.
This is a big test for Gerard Mayo, maybe more than anyone, because you can see the buy-in. Regardless of winning or losing, you can see if players are bought in, invested, competing.
Yep.
You can see it. You can see that. And sort of that win against the Jets last week, that at least proved that Mayo hadn't totally lost the room. They hadn't given up. And so, obviously, the execution can be better. You wonder if they just have the talent. but you can control how you compete and whether you're invested and bought in. And so we saw that last week, but we also saw that in week 1, and it didn't carry over. And so this is the test of Gerard Mayo and the coaching staff. Can they carry that over? And can they continue to play tougher, more competitive football and stay in it to the end? I think that's going to be interesting to see just sort of how they come out and how they stay in this game.
Yeah, he pressed that button. He came out in the media. He called the team soft a couple weeks ago, got somewhat of a response last week, but that it has to be more than 1 week. You can't just come out every week and call the team soft, right?
Yeah, I think they responded in the sense that they didn't give up on that game. They were losing at times. Like, they kept the game close. They stayed into the end, and they competed at the end, and they had that drive at the end. So I think that was good to see them play a full 60 minutes, so they might need it again today.
Yeah, and so let's see if they can keep that buying going. I have the Patriots, too. I'm kind of in a similar boat as you. I'm looking at like 21-17. I think it's going to be that herky-jerky sort of offense we've seen, and that comes with young quarterbacks where they'll have 2 or 3 drives where we're all getting ready to fit Drake May for a gold jacket, and then everything else will be 3 and outs. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Kind of how they had in Jacksonville. Now I think the defense will play a little better. The special teams will play a little better. Or at least the other team will play as well. And you'll pull your hair out at times, but I think Drake May gives us a couple drives where we're like, oh, wow, here we go. Okay. And that's enough. And the defense, again, the turnovers, they force a turnover or 2, and they're able to pull this one out in a narrow one. So, again, Patriots-Titans, we got pregame coming up. I just saw Chris Gasper walk by, Jim Murray as well. They will have you at 10 o'clock. Bob and Zoe have the call from Nashville. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff. Joe Murray and Leroy Irvin are on postgame. Matt and I will have you covered on all of it on 98.5thesportshub.com, on Twitter as well, at Matt Dolloff, at Real Alex Barth. Dolloff will also have, he's pulling the doubleheader today. He'll have Bruins coverage a little later tonight. You can catch the Bruins game. That'll start on our sister station, 102.5. And then once Patriots pregame wraps up, it will move in progress over here to the Sports Hub. So busy day here on the Hub. We've got the Patriots. We've got the Bruins. Keep it right here. Download the app. That can help out as well to stay tuned with all of it. And then again, trade deadline on Tuesday. So there'll be plenty to talk about as the week goes on. 30 seconds here, Dolloff. Final thoughts.
Yeah, one thing I hope carries over from last week is that the run defense got better for the Patriots. Yep. That's the sign of toughness, and I hope they didn't start well last week against the Jets, but I hope that sort of carries over to this week. That might be a big aspect of the game. I hope that carries over.
Team down, one running back, and others banged up. You hope they do that. So that'll do it for us here. I want to wish everybody a happy final football Sunday with political ads. No more political ads after this week. You get that back. And we'll see. We'll be back next week. Dolph, great job filling in.
Thanks. I hope I did Cerrone justice
You
today.
did. Cerrone will be back next week. Same time, same place, 8 o'clock. Again, you can follow the show at Sun Kickoff 98.5 on Twitter. Kyle Fabrizio, great job yourself as always as well. So, Chris Gasper, Jim Murray coming up next. Patriots pregame. I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.
Into the end zone! Touchdown for the Patriots! WBZ FM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. This is Patriots Preview.